join the live.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I hope everyone is doing great today. My name is Juliana Johari. I manage SecureX Managed Cybersecurity Solution for HeiTech Padu Berhad. With me today, we have Tajul Muhammad, Nazrul Yusni and Dr. Hazila, where we will be talking about how RAVE is your cybersecurity. So for sure, RAVE doesn't mean that it is about the dance party. It's more about being enthusiastic about cybersecurity. So RAVE to us translate into 4 components that are key consideration when you look at your organization's cybersecurity program. It's meant to be ready, agile, visible and efficient. When one talks about cybersecurity, we acknowledge that there are many challenges. Today, being in a nation in digital transformation journey and with IR 4.0, system has become more complex. There are complex application, complex network, complex infrastructure, thus increasing the threat landscape and threat exposure. Business goes online. You have mobile access, IoTs, traditional OT that goes into IP connected world. And not only that, the attacks also uses digital technology that resulted in organizations are flooded with advanced and targeted attack. Existing blocking and prevention capabilities are insufficient nowadays to protect against motivated, advanced attackers. Malicious activities disguised as legitimate commands are also on the rise. Poor visibility, discovery and mapping of all assets across the entire attack spectrum is another challenge faced by organizations. There are many layers of attack spectrum now ranging from network, infrastructure, application, data, identities which will need to be addressed. This does not also include the fact that some organizations are moving to cloud, virtual and container environments. Now how do you protect them as well? Limited manageability in risks and vulnerabilities to me are very important challenges as we need to know as much as possible when dealing with managing cybersecurity. Most of the cyber risks are systemic problems that would require a holistic approach to cybersecurity. At present, most organizations have difficulty in meeting cybersecurity compliance and regulatory. This becomes a challenge when they need to come up with cybersecurity plan for the organization and to justify the investment required for cybersecurity. To us, the pivoting phase for improvement is whereby organization starts to plan on being cyber resilient at all times to ensure the business survive against cyber threats. Okay, so now let's look at the RAVE concept. The first keyword, ready. Okay, for us, it is important for organization to know how ready are they in managing their cybersecurity. Are you ready to face the next cyber threat? There are 4 key questions to be defined. First question, do you know what is at risk? To us, cyber risk should be a business risk. It provides severe impact into running the business. If the threat happens and bring down the system, the organization could cease to be operational and those will take time to recover. Second question that is important is where are the assets? To know what assets is important to the business, which assets you need to pay attention and to have the right protection mechanism. What is key to your business survival? Question number 3 is need to know how these asset information are stored, processed and transmitted. Is it stored securely? Is it transmitted safely with encryption? How are your assets? Is it on HA or a single environment? For question number 4 is who are the stakeholders involved? How is the integrity of the data? Can it be manipulated? How many people have access to those data? So these are the questions that you need to have answers and plan for it. So answering these 4 questions will give an idea of an organization's cybersecurity status in maintaining the confidentiality, integrity and availability of your information security as well as your cybersecurity, since we are going digital, right? Answering these 4 questions will give an idea where an organization's cybersecurity status is in maintaining confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and the ability to stay ahead of cyber criminals. So, are you ready?
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. And how's everyone? I hope you are excited as we are to go further on our RAVE journey. So now we will go into next letter A, which stands for Agile. We seldom hear about Agile methodology in many IT fields, such as in project management, where it involves constant collaboration with stakeholders and continuous improvement at every stages of project implementation. In cybersecurity, we would like to relate to adaptive security architecture, where the same concept applies, a full comprehensive architecture which constantly and continuously adapt to cybersecurity process and practices. Adaptive security architecture uses a combination of integrated tactics to help business stay ahead of cyber criminals, instigating flexible security measures to protect data and systems in as agile a way as possible, rather than relying on outdated perimeter defense strategies. I can say it is like an immune system in a security ecosystem. It responds to attack and adjusts to environmental changes, or otherwise everything will fall, fails, or disaster. It adopts the Darwinian concept of adapt or die. If you cannot adapt, then you die. Adaptive security architecture, or ASA, is based on solutions that use adaptive and dynamic operational styles to maintain the integrity of data, systems, and their survivability by moving into unified, integrated prediction, prevention, detection, and correction cycle. Predictive control phase is where the risk being assessed. From this assessment, risk evaluated, measured, and analyzed, so we can anticipate attacks and threats that we may be facing in future. The revolution of machine learning and artificial intelligence has provided us the ability to analyze based on various sources and give us better prediction. One of the activities in preventive control we always practice is to harden your system and isolate system into security segments. We can do this by using firewalls or virtually segmented, or sometimes by containers, not only to prevent security breaches, but also to enhance performance, or can be another reason. There are many other controls available out there, such as IPS, WAF, APT, Anti-DDOS, and many more. Detective control phase is a sense of control that we are detecting such anomaly of the threats and attacks. It is sort of internal control intended to find problems or the root cause of the problem. This process may involve investigation of incidents, design policy changes, and conduct retrospective analysis. In corrective control, we correct problem or remediate and recover from the problem or incident occurred. It can involve everything from enterprise-wide password reset to pulling a network cable and rebuilding an infected box. When we are remediating in the security context, we are trying to remove an attacker's presence from our environment and neutralize any mechanism they can use to recompromise. Now we go to next phase, visible. You might have heard about this famous quote, "You cannot protect what you do not know." We are saying that it is compulsory for every organization to have visibility on every level of their asset, vulnerability, risk, and threat. By having visibility, then security team can identify all assets and identify which is critical to address their vulnerabilities. The risks that come from the asset vulnerability will then determine the threat level and plan on how to mitigate them. Risk-based vulnerability management, or RBVM, is fundamentally a different way of assessing vulnerabilities, prioritizing remediation efforts, and measuring cyber exposure and the team's effectiveness in reducing that exposure. This RBVM will allow organizations to accurately quantify their true business risks, determine and prioritize business-critical services and applications, identify service and application owners and other stakeholders, and establish and evaluate existing security and applicable IT policies and processes. Risk-based vulnerability management is a continuous proactive and strategic method in remediating the vulnerabilities that pose the most risk to the organization, therefore enabling them to be able to identify potential threat and attack vectors through the trending patterns, thus maximizing their efficiency and effectiveness. I'm passing the session to Mr. Tajul to continue the next phase of our RAVE. Stay on.
Thank you, Nazrul. I am Tajul. Being efficient is the most key element in running a cybersecurity operation in every organization. The key element is people, technology, and operation. Every organization must be able to orchestrate technology and solutions that use adaptive and dynamic operational styles to maintain the integrity of data, systems, and their survivability. Build ITSecOps that can support continuous monitoring, predict, hunting, response, remediate, and recovery. The orchestration between incident response plan, disaster recovery plan, and business continuity plan through policies, standard procedures, and guidelines to develop, implement, and practice a continuous response-enabled ITSecOps. Ability to remediate and recover to ensure business operation continuity being preserved. There is no bulletproof protection against cyber attack. Digital security is mandatory, but not sufficient. In addition to cybersecurity, we must understand, embrace, and implement digital resilience as a strategy for surviving and thriving in an inherent insecure digital world. Establish a clear operating model across IT, security, the business, and other control functions, such as risk, compliance, and audit. We must ensure security roles, responsibilities, and reporting lines are clear and at the right level. Establish true ownership, accountability for information security controls, and business protection across the enterprise. Last but not least, use security technologies and solutions to facilitate and enable innovative business opportunities.
STUXNET is a new type of weapon, a digital worm, and it was used in the first cyber attack known to have caused physical damage in the real world. While they have not admitted to it, the United States and Israel allegedly created STUXNET in order to slow Iran's effort to build nuclear weapons. The worm targeted the computers that ran the machines used to turn uranium into nuclear fuel. The STUXNET worm spun many of the centrifuges out of control, blowing them up, all without the Iranians figuring out what was causing the explosions. Eventually, though, STUXNET got loose and spread across the world, infecting computers in more than 100 countries. The worm was quickly noticed, and the operation publicly exposed. Cyber experts were alarmed by STUXNET and feared its potential for destruction. While this worm only attacked specific equipment related to Iran's centrifuges, experts fear that the same digital technology could be used to manipulate the computers that run a huge swath of industrial activity and infrastructure projects, like factories, dams, and electrical grids. Disrupting or destroying any of them could cause enormous physical damage and could potentially kill large numbers of people. This has led some to suggest that cyber weapons have the potential to be weapons of mass destruction. And just as international treaties were created to control nuclear weapons, many countries and individuals are calling for treaties to control the use of cyber weapons. But that is unlikely to happen anytime soon, because cyber weapons pose unique challenges. They're often designed to be covert, so victims may not even realize that they were hit by a cyber attack. For example, while the STUXNET worm was destroying the centrifuges, it sent false information to the Iranian scientists' equipment, pretending that everything was operating normally. Even if victims do discover that they were attacked, they may not be able to determine who attacked them, because hackers can mask their identities and cover their digital tracks. This makes it harder to enforce potential cyber weapon rules because countries may not know whom to attribute a violation to, and as a result, may not know who to punish. On top of these challenges, there's no international consensus on what the cyber rules would even be. And so, without any rules, countries are building up their cyber defenses, making it harder for cyber attacks to succeed. But there's no perfect defense against a cyber attack. For example, the Iranian nuclear facility was underground and air-gapped, completely cut off from the internet. So those who wanted to damage the Iranian program couldn't sneak STUXNET into the facility online. Nevertheless, they targeted the hardware suppliers for the facility and put it on their electronic equipment, which eventually made its way into the nuclear facility. This infiltration tactic makes it near impossible to completely protect any system from cyber attacks. With globalized supply chains, every country is vulnerable to foreign cyber weapons. So many focus on building resiliency, making sure that important systems and infrastructure can quickly recover after a cyber attack. And countries are also racing to develop stronger cyber weapons, hoping to deter other countries from attacking out of fear of retaliation. They are also seen as a new tool to respond to extreme security threats like terrorist attacks, or even to counteract sanctions. More countries than ever are armed with cyber weapons, and every country, rich, poor, big, and small, is vulnerable.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is TS Dr. Nur Hazilawati binti Awang. I'm the Vice President of Technology HeiTech Padu Berhad. On 2nd June 2021, Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, Minister of Communication and Multimedia, had issued a media statement to alert the public on cyber attacks. In his media statement, he also highlighted that from January till May 2021 alone, a total of 4,615 cases of cybersecurity incidents were reported. The three highest incidents were fraud, 3,229 cases, intrusion, 765 cases, and malicious code, 256 cases. The Minister and his team are always on high alert to combat possible cyber attacks as the usage of the internet increases since the Moving Control Order was introduced beginning March 2020 last year. Over the years, technology has revolutionized our world and daily lives. The way we live in the past is different to the way we live today, and this is vastly due to changes in technology. The availability of the internet provides us with ready access to information anytime, anywhere. Cybersecurity is one of those words that is now casually bandied about in most conversations relating to ongoing. First, data security. Hackers are often after data. They want to see or steal information that's off limits. Data security involves protecting data from unauthorized access. It includes data encryption, data access control technologies and policies. Second, network security. In order for a cyber attack to work, in almost every situation, it is first necessary for the hacker to gain access to target's network. Protecting network is one of the most serious areas of cybersecurity and typically the focus of significant investment. Third, application security. Hackers also like to get inside software applications like ERP, CRM, email servers, and the likes. Sitting inside an app is a great way to spy on the target or disrupt its operation. As businesses, individuals, and even governments increasingly adopt and leverage technology, the threat stemming from cybersecurity is becoming more real. It has now become imperative that businesses ensure cybersecurity in order to maintain the sanctity of the vast amounts of data they collect in the process of applying and delivering tech-powered solutions. However, I guarantee that this is easier said than done. Ensuring cybersecurity is becoming progressively tougher as cybercriminals stay a step ahead of the existing firewalls, exploiting new vulnerabilities and constantly executing attacks. They continue to persist even as regulatory institutions put together a framework to change and improve standards. Prevention is better than cure, an old adage that is applicable to nearly every part of our life. We all know that prevention is better than cure. When it comes to mitigating cybersecurity risks, it is better to be proactive rather than reactive. An imperative to adopting a proactive risk mitigation strategy is to recognize the sources of risk that can be a threat to cybersecurity. For today's event, I would like to touch on two important topics, and they are application security and secure coding. Let us look at the first topic. What is application security? AppSec, in short, is a process of finding, fixing, and preventing security vulnerabilities at the application level in hardware, software, and development processes. It includes guidance on measures for application design and development through the whole life cycle, including after the application has launched. It has been reported that 84% of security incidents happen at application layer. I believe the statement itself is self-explanatory on why is AppSec becoming more important nowadays. By following the application security measures, you can ensure that weaknesses and vulnerabilities in your software applications are identified and dealt with early in the development lifecycle before they become serious security breaches. This is becoming more important as hackers increasingly target applications with their attacks. At Caliber Consulting Application Security, we don't just secure software, we expertise in digital security. Caliber AppSec best practices should be initiated from the start of the software development lifecycle and be adopted by the whole product team to follow for an efficient software application security. That is, first, establish an application security risk profile to identify potential security vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Second, identify and eliminate security vulnerabilities in your software application. Third, identify and address security vulnerabilities in open source and third-party software. Fourth, provide your team with application security training. Adopting application security best practices will minimize the risk and protect your data. Other than application security, Caliber Consulting, under the wing of HeiTech Padu Berhad, also offers secure coding and review services. Secure coding standards are rules and guidelines that are used to identify, prevent, and eliminate software vulnerabilities that could compromise software security. HeiTech Caliber Consulting use these standards below. CERT. CERT is a series of secure coding standards that target insecure coding practices and undefined behaviors in C, C++, and Java that may lead to security risks. CWE, the Common Weakness Enumeration, identifies software security weaknesses in C, C++, Java, and C#. OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, identifies the top web application security risks. A static code analyzer should be used early in the development cycle to enforce secure coding standards to ensure the best resolution to potential security weaknesses. To ensure that your application security measures are efficient and effective, our approach consists of the following. SAS, also known as white box testing. SAS is a type of software security vulnerability testing. The tool analyzes your source codes as you develop your application to detect and report weaknesses that can lead to security vulnerabilities. By using this kind of tool, you can identify security vulnerabilities early in their development. DAST, also known as black box testing. DAST is a type of software security vulnerability testing. This type of tool detects conditions that indicate security vulnerabilities during runtime. By using this type of tool, you are able to identify security errors during runtime and environment related issues later in the development lifecycle. Optimization of the development process is needed in every organization to produce high-quality software and applications. Secure coding and code reviews are important to improve quality by finding and fixing issues as early as possible, as this will set a benchmark to your software development process. It can also ensure that the consistency and reliability of software that you are building. It calls for the need for secure coding and code review as a mandatory practice for all organizations. Benefits of AppSec secure coding and code review includes reducing risks, ensuring consistency in design and implementation, optimizing code for better performance, collaborating and share new techniques, and monitoring project quality and requirements. Secure coding together with code review should be an integral part of every software development process. It's an important verification technique for improving software quality as well as promotes knowledge sharing within an organization. Choosing which method you will use depends on your preference and team setup. The important thing is to start implementing reviews into the development process as soon as possible. As organizations gear up to these new challenges that are the offsprings of digital revolution, they need to think about cybersecurity from a holistic perspective. A blanket approach is not going to work. Firms need to assess their vulnerabilities across divisions and operations and then put together a structured cybersecurity plan that addresses these issues in a definitive manner.